Going. Got a bit of sun at the moment and some rain. It's a bit of weird weather at this point in time, and it kind of just reminded me of something: mindfulness and being mindful of our own minds. Now, I don't know why the sun and the rain did that, but maybe it's because of how our brain processes information and how things can change so quickly dependent upon our brain and how it has semantically attributed our memory and events, which is called episodic memory. But let's talk about the semantic memory side of things. Our whole lives are basically run through our semantic memory. So our brain partitions what we have learnt in our lives semantically in our brain. So it will put things that are, say, bird related things together, animal related things together, car related things together, and that happens with emotions as well. And so what this tells me and what this tells us, and probably you, is that our lives really, really shape the way we perceive the world and how we interpret the world. So let's talk about perception. We all have a different perception of reality. It's not the same for everybody. Some people are colorblind. Some people have, compromised auditory processing. Some people can't even hear. I mean, there's just a whole range of different individual circumstances. So it's really mindful to understand how our individual experiences shape our perception of the world. And that goes also to our experiences, our developmental experiences in childhood, also our experiences through adulthood. I mean, that shapes how we perceive the world. If most of our developmental life has been maladaptive, so that would be maybe more negative, then perhaps that will shape our perception to focus more on the negative side of things. And so it's really important to understand that the way we perceive things is not necessarily the way that things are. It is just our perception. And our brain really fills in the gaps too. So our brain does what's called top-down processing. So that's basically our brain filling in the gaps. So we've got perception where we touch something, or we hear something, or we see something, and that's the bottom-up processing. And the top-down processing is our brain filling in the gaps to make our lives that little bit easier. So and that happens unbeknownst to us. That a lot of things, the way we perceive things, is our mind just filling in the gaps. Just, making it a little bit quicker, a little bit more streamlined, but at the same time, it can be quite maladaptive. And I think it's very mindful to be mindful of our minds and to understand that the way we're perceiving things may not necessarily be the way it is, and just to perhaps take a step back, recognize that, and understand that there is more than one way of doing things. And perhaps that will help you and I become, more attuned to reality, less stuck in our own minds, and more attuned to what is actually reality. So, yeah, perception is not all what you think it is. It's not just literally light shining in your eye and colours bouncing off leaves due to the light spectrum, the electromagnetic spectrum, and it's not just sounds bouncing off and hitting our ears. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So be mindful of your minds. Bye.